And boom, and we're live. And boom, and we're live. Well, welcome to another episode of Life is People. And it's we were just quickly chatting before we went live with a kind of like last time we sort of spoke in public, Eijah, you were a kind of well, I'll tell you where we left it off. Let's pick it up. You were just kind of on the back of the Rockstar thing. You were literally just telling me about how you were going to spend 2-3 months going, putting your head down and really, going full into, the coding of Demonsaw. And I've been watching from afar and watching what's been going on. So, well, it's been an eventful year. So, I mean, it's beginning at the very, sort of start of it. Over the last sort of 9 months, or sort of almost a year now since we last spoke. What do you think the greatest lessons that you've learned?
I'm getting some feedback. I'm not sure if you were hearing it in the audio.
No.
No. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that last question? It must be on my end.
No, I was just saying, what do you think the greatest lesson, or some of the lessons you've learned from the last year of, being heads down and coding Demonsaw?
I'm still getting the feedback here. I'm going to try one thing. 1 second. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. These are the more the reasons, my friend, if you can hear me, these are the reasons why Demonsaw and what you're doing and projects like it are essential, because as we've spoken many times before, the internet as we know is creaking and failing at a rapidly rising rate. So I'm hoping that Eijah is going to be back. Well, for people listening here talking to me, one of the things that when we last spoke, me and Eijah, we were talking about just going and how he was going to be building Demonsaw. Oh, he's back.
Okay. Can you hear me? Is that better?
That's perfect.
All right. You know what I did is I just refreshed Google Hangouts. That's what solved it. So sometimes it just needs a reboot. Excellent technology. So sorry about that, guys. All right. If you'd be so kind just to repeat that last question one more time with only one stream of audio.
No, that's cool. I was just going to say, I mean, what do you think the lessons that you've learned since we last spoke? Because, to give a bit of context, you were just about to, go sort of very deep into, the coding and programming with Demonsaw. So what would you think the greatest lessons you've learned in the last sort of, year since we last spoke?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, well, it's been a year, and it's first of all, it's hard to believe it's been a year, and I'm glad to be back. So thank you for having me again. I think probably the top 2 or 3 or 4 greatest lessons is it's about a year ago today that I resigned from Rockstar Games, and that was a huge leap of faith. I mean, I got to be honest, it was a little scary. I'd been there for 5 years. My career was on the upward swing at Rockstar. I mean, I was one of the top 5 programmers, and there was so much in my future with Rockstar Games. I gave a lot up, and it was quite the risk. And I still miss it. I miss it every day. I miss that team. And like I said before, I'm a loyal Rockstar. Even though I'm not under NDA, or even though I'm not employed by them, I'll never give up their secrets. I know exactly what they're working on for the next 5 years. And I'll never give that out, but I do miss them. But I think the greatest lesson I've learned is that life is short. And when we're given an opportunity, we have to jump at it. And no matter what that is, whether that's an opportunity like full-time on Demonsaw, or whether that's an opportunity like partnering with John McAfee on MGT, sometimes we have maybe 1, 2, 3 of those opportunities in the entire span of our life. And it's so critically important that when we get those, we take full advantage of them and we don't look back. Life will always be scary and daunting and threatening, and there will always be an enormous amount of unknown in life. But I would rather fail 1,000 times over than regret one time. And so I've clung to that attitude, and I've clung to that spirit, and I've been able to humble myself, surround myself with smart people, and believe in myself. And that's, I think, the most important lesson is, and I tell people this again and again, I'm like, I'm a programmer, and maybe I'm a good programmer, and maybe I have a lot of experience, but I'm just like you guys. I'm a guy who every now and then is lonely, every now and then is depressed, every now and then is sad, has problems, has dirty laundry, has an empty fridge right now. I mean, I'm just a guy like you guys. And all the problems you face are the same ones I face. I am no different than you. The only difference is I happen to have this opportunity and jump at it and not look back. And we all get those opportunities. So believe in yourself, believe in what you're capable of, and don't ever doubt your potential and your ability, because it's the naysayers that are trying to drag us down. It's the people that have lost opportunity and given up on opportunities and now face their own sense of regret. And those are the people that are throwing all this negative energy and emotion at us. But believe in yourself, believe in your power, and take advantage of life. And that, to me, I think is the greatest lesson. So like I said, I don't ever regret leaving Rockstar, although I still miss it every day. So it's been that sort of journey. It's been that sort of year. It's the most emotional, exciting year of my life. And I'm sure you got some questions about that, but you got to believe, and don't listen to trolls. Don't listen to haters. Don't listen to assholes. Don't listen to anybody that's trying to drag you down. All you need is that inner voice, and go forward.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's many questions I really want to go delve into you and explore, and obviously since we last spoken. But I mean, one of the things that I think has been really inspiring to me is just seeing the amount of progress you made. And I don't think I alluded to at the beginning of this conversation, but I think it needs to be bear in mind, and I'm quite happy to say this. You've done this. Well, since we last spoken, and I don't know what the team is like now, and I can, you've got some sort of people to join you, but majority of this has been done as by yourself. I mean, when I last spoke to you, you were literally just like, okay, I'm going to be locking myself away in a little apartment and going really into it. So my kind of question to you before we sort of like get into the technicalities and the what Demonsaw is, I'm always fascinated about your creative process. Now, from my kind of experience of over the last few months of knowing getting to know coders and programmers, I'm finding there's a lot of commonalities, and one of the commonalities I'm finding is that, and you just spoke upon it, you just alluded to it then, about the long hours and how sometimes you can do 36-hour, they call it the 36-hour days and stuff like this. So my point to you on a technical, on a creative process, I mean, is there any sort of for instance, do you have like when I'm painting, I'm creating, I have times when I'll have great energy of creativity, and I'll just tap into it, and then I'll have maybe a week, 2 weeks where I just want to crash. Is this the same sort of process you go through when you're writing programming?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. I mean, there's moments of inspiration, there's moments of sheer energy, there's moments where nothing can stop us. And there's moments where you have writer's block or coder's block, and it's the two extremes, and it will happen when you least expect it. Like, I may wake up at 3 a.m. and I may see everything perfectly clear, and then I just don't sleep the rest of the night, and I'm writing it down and I'm coding it. I'm going for as long as I can to make the best of this opportunity. And then there are days when just everything in life is coming up. One of the quotes that I gave it was the beginning of my DefCon 23 talk on crypto for hackers. I started that talk by saying it's in our moments of weakness that we define ourselves as individuals. So everybody's strong and happy when we're feeling great, when life's going our way, when there's no potential for stumbling and everything is perfect. Of course, everybody's in a great mood. Everyone's positive. Everyone's smiling. But life's not always like that. Life has many, many dark alleys that we have to travel down, and sometimes we're alone, and sometimes we're penniless, and sometimes we're scared. And not to make this whole interview depressing, but the reality is when all hell's broken loose and we're being shit on, that's when we define ourselves as who we really are. That's when our true personality comes out, and that's when we define ourselves as individuals. It's not in our moments of success. It's in our moments of greatest weakness. And you'll see this all over. You probably have friends current in the past where their true colors have shown through, in a moment of weakness, and you realize, wow, this person's dark, this person's not healthy, it could have been an ex-girlfriend or whatever, or just a friend. And we're all like that. And so it's, how are you when you have no money, have no friends, have no respect, and maybe currently have no successes? That's who you really are. And that's the person I really want to know, is who's at your core. And that's what I've tried to do with Demonsaw, as I've been the founder, the sole programmer, the entrepreneur, the ex-Rockstar developer. I've tried to always show that to everybody who tries Demonsaw, everybody who's online, everybody who meets me in real life or on the internet. I want to show who I really am. I want the light you get from Eijah is the real and transparent and honest light. There's no hidden agenda. There's no dark motives. There's no potential for the NSA backdooring my code. If I got a national security letter or an NSL, the first thing I would do is tweet it. I would violate the agreements of the NSL. I'd say, fuck you, NSA, and I would tweet that. That's who I am, and I've been very vocal about it. The world needs more people who are transparent, vulnerable, and real. Even if that means maybe we're not on the pillars that everyone puts us. I shouldn't be on a big pillar. I'm just a human like you guys, but I would rather the heroes that I look up to are real, are vulnerable, are heroes that have good and dark sides. I would rather know that, because I can identify with that. To me, a hero is much more powerful if he or she is relatable. And that's where honesty, transparency, and a real sense of being comes into play.
I completely concur with you, Eijah. And I mean, just on that very point, I think this is one of the things that really separates the people that are going to define any new paradigm are the ones that you just said, are the ones that don't just talk but build. And that's one of the things, again, I have to really tip my head to, my hat to you and say, well, I've just seen the amount of just progress you've made over the last year, but you've been very real about it. Like you said, you've been, Eijah's Eijah. I mean, you know what I mean? We've had many conversations. And that's what I like about it. You're not just out there talking a good game. You're actually going out there and building it. And that's what I was trying to allude to. I think these are one of the essential points we were just speaking before going live, that we're ever going to push through this boundary, this paradigm. I mean, because, it could be argued, maybe we've been here many times. Maybe civilization just goes on this 4-generational cycle thing, and we need to be pushing through. But what we need isn't talkers. We need doers. And doers are the people that are quite open to say, hey, I'm just who I am. I'm a vulnerable human being, but at least I'm going out there and I'm building, and I'm building, and I'm step by step getting to that process. So I completely concur with you. Now, one of the things that around the process of building Demonsaw and stuff like that, I think it's one of the things that first got me into it, which I was really fascinated with. I'm interested to see where you think this is going to develop over the sort of like building process of Demonsaw. One of the things that first inspired me about it, and it's something you just spoken about there too, was the idea that if it, even just for a moment, or whether it was a permanent network, but I could have the ability where I could just come and form some opinions, share some ideas, and I could break that away. And I love that idea. So from where you're, from where you're sitting now, how do you sort of see that developing? Is that something that is still key and core to what you're doing? And do you think that's something how do you sort of see that developing, especially with the new kind of we've seen over the last year, we've seen the rise and fall of some platforms and stuff like this, so I just wondered, is that something that's still core to what you do, and how do you think that's going to regress over with Demonsaw?
Oh yeah, absolutely, most definitely. It's more important now than ever before. Demonsaw needs to be an application, and a network, and a social network where people can come together based on their need for interaction. One of the things that I talked about a few weeks ago, every week on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I hold a live Eijah call on Mumble. We have a Mumble server, and I invite anybody in the Demonsaw world, or anybody who wants to join the Mumble, and I'll give some updates. I'll talk about some stuff that's going on. I'll talk about some features, and it gives everybody a voice and access to me one-on-one. And a lot of things come up, a lot of ideas come up, and this is yet another way of bringing freedom to Demonsaw and to the community. And one of the sessions we talked about freedom and what it means to be a free application and have a free app and make it available. And up to this point, the last 20 years or so, free software has primarily been defined by making that software open source. Okay, and that definitely factors in. There's no question about it. Like I told many people, we all benefit and we all are better off now because of the open source free software contributions by many, many great people that have come before us. We stand on the shoulders of giants. But being free isn't just about an open source license. And so freedom is so much bigger than seeing the source code. And here's why. Over 99%, if not 99%, or 99.99% of people can't read source code. So the majority of the population of this world cannot read source code. And they sure as heck cannot read very advanced source code, like the source code written for the Safe Network or the source code written for Demonsaw. And so we as free application developers have to do more than just open source. Open source is great, but it's not enough to define our software as truly free. And what do I mean by this? I mean that the use cases within the applications themselves should also be free and enable people to express themselves completely differently. I'll give you an example. I say this quote many, many times, and I'm going to make a t-shirt probably for DefCon 25. Ratios are DRM for torrents. So let me replace. So ratios are DRM for torrents. What do I mean by that? You take a BitTorrent software and you use it, and it's free. You can go download the BitTorrent source for applications like uTorrent and other torrent applications, and you can look at the source code all day long, and you can make sure there's no backdoors and vulnerabilities. Great. But when you use uTorrent or we use BitTorrent, you're forced into this ratio paradigm. So the entire protocol itself is incentivizing people to share content by forcing them into a ratio, a download and upload ratio. This to me is handcuffs. This is a form of prison. And now a lot of people are happy with it, but a lot of people are happy in handcuffs. It doesn't mean it's right, and it doesn't mean it promotes freedom. So freedom is far more than open sourcing something. Freedom is the ability to share wherever you and I want, in whatever network architecture or design, whatever private secure group, without any reliance on centralization or key stores or certificate authorities, without being forced to upload. If we're truly promoting freedom, then we need to have viable options outside of Ethereum, outside of SafeNet, outside of FreeNet, outside of all these other applications, Dropbox and Skype, that provide a different approach, that provide a different application use case. Because none of these are superior or inferior to the other, but there needs to be an alternative that thinks differently. And so with Demonsaw, I decided there are going to be no rules. I'm not going to force people to share. I'm not going to auto share what you download. I'm not going to have ratios. Why? Because I think that's DRM. I just think people haven't realized ratios are DRM for torrents. I'm not going to force you into a box. I'm going to let you express yourself however you want. And this is obviously a double-edged sword because, as we talked about a year ago, this theoretically allows bad people to do bad things with the software. But you can't have true freedom without free will. And you can't have free will without giving somebody the ability to choose poorly and make bad, unethical, illegal decisions. That's where we rely on our law enforcement, our police, our military to take care of those actions. So you can't have true freedom without giving people an open world sandbox in which to express themselves without rules. And that's why I believe Demonsaw offers a different type of freedom. It's partially open source, but it offers people to configure their network however they want. And so to come full circle, to me, it's important to give people 100% freedom. Allow them to come together, disperse quickly, stay around for weeks or months or years, and have the experience that they want, not the one that I think they need.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly on that, my friend. I mean, you've spoken upon it then, and I'm just on that area alone. I'm fascinated by this. I mean, obviously, what we're all attempting to do is basically it goes back to the old analogy about, you know, everything we're surrounded by is written by dead people. The rules, everything, the whole system was written by dead people, and basically we're going back to, maybe you could argue, like 1945, and going, okay, let's do this all properly instead of it being done by military or corporations and governments and stuff like this. So I'm fascinated in this. Now, you just, like you quickly alluded to, when you, which I don't know how your thoughts on this, but when I do sort of see that a lot of the coding and programming is basically, whether by design or just by the nature of things, it's a lot of it's done by English. And I don't know whether this is going to be the key to getting things into the future, that it's all been done around this one language, which is fascinating, because you talk about, you know, that's an old the Tower of Babel. Well, maybe we're actually, you know, going to get through that paradigm by having a one language. And equally, my second point to you would be, and I think it's like you alluded to, there seems like you were saying, there is a blockage between, at the moment, between the average person who may have an idea and the actual getting down to doing the coding, because it's a difficult skill. And then there's so many different languages and programs, and they're all coming at different times and different speeds, and like, you know, everyone's coming up with a new idea and a new language and stuff like this. So what do you think the steps that can be made to make this, where writing an application, writing something where they can, you know, do something on Demonsaw, where it's almost as easy to do as we now do with our smartphones, you know, where we can just go da, 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 da. Whereas back when I was at school, you know, even to type was a skill. That was like something all the girls were separated off. If you go to typing school, and now it's almost like we've all become to do it. So what do you think, from your perception, from your angle being a program, what do you think the steps that can be made to make this more of a language that anybody can play with? Like you said, so instead of it being an open sandbox where we can all express ideas, where we can have an open sandbox where anybody can come out and write the ideas and program the ideas.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, and it's something. It's an exciting topic that I'm just now starting to talk more and more about because of an upcoming feature in Demonsaw 4, which, by the way, I'll give a little plug here. So Demonsaw 4 is officially going to be released on or before DefCon 25. DefCon's having its 25th anniversary. I think it's late July. I think it's around July 27th when DefCon is in Las Vegas. But Demonsaw 4 will launch then or before. And I say that with a smile because people who know me know that I'm a prankster and I like to release stuff early. So you can probably expect it early. But and one of the features that we're adding is a replacement. It's got a lot of functionality that basically is going to provide the ability for you with your web browser or you with your email to secure both of those experiences. So you can take email, you can take web browsing, and you're going to be able to send it through the Demonsaw network, all of your Demonsaw crypto. And the Demonsaw network is going to function like a dynamic and distributed Tor network. But it's not just one Tor network. There'll be thousands and thousands and thousands of Tor networks. And it's not Tor, but it's Tor-like. So it's going to be totally secure, defined by your crypto, but you'll be able to, using a SOX 5 proxy mechanism, send all of your unencrypted traffic through your encrypted network. So the long answer to your very, very good question was that if people can't write code or they can't write scripts, what they'll be able to do is point their web browser and their email clients and their other network clients that are insecure at their Demonsaw setup and have their entire online experience instantly secured in a way that not even the NSA can bring, not rogue agencies, not even hackers could bring this if they configure it properly. And this is yet another way that we're empowering the end users, empowering the individuals to decide for themselves how they want their online experience to be. There's also other ways that people are contributing now. We have a couple members of the community, one who goes by the nick Black Neon, and the other who goes by the nick Tech. They've made videos. They've made tutorial videos for Demonsaw 3.1, which just came out a couple weeks ago. And if you download Demonsaw 3.1, you'll see there's a bunch of tutorial buttons there. It'll go to where the video is on the Demonsaw website or on our YouTube channel. And these are videos that just for no pay, people in the community just did because they love what we're working on. There's also people that have contributed themes. So they've created light and dark themes to customize the Demonsaw app, a person who goes by the nick Garbage created 5 dark themes, which Demonsaw sorely needed because it only ships with the basic white theme. I call it the pale white Eijah theme because I blend into white walls, and so it was kind of a similar theme. It's the pasty programmer Eijah white theme that comes with it, which most people don't like, which is cool. But people like Garbage and others are contributing. We have another gentleman named Havatra who pretty much created the entire Demonsaw.com website on his own for free. And we have people like Deca and Porn that manage some of our infrastructure and help out with community requests and hosting our weekly session. So those are just a handful, and the list goes on and on and on of different ways that people can contribute. So with Demonsaw 4 and future versions of Demonsaw, there's more opportunities to help out. There's more opportunities to be engaged and involved. And also there's opportunities to use Demonsaw however you want with whatever applications you want, as long as those applications support a SOX 5 proxy interface.
Wow, man, that's fantastic to hear. And again, while we're talking about sort of like, Demonsaw new products, I mean, kind of like today you kind of like put out on the pretext of this conversation that Demonsaw 3D. So I'm not going to say anything more, man. I'm going to hand it over to you. Tell me more about Demonsaw 3D.
All right. Well, that's so yeah. I kind of, so to be fair, just so the audience know, I kept Demonsaw 3D as a secret. So I announced it literally this morning. So everybody here on Life is People had no idea that I was going to launch a product on the podcast today. So he's smiling there, but it's I like surprises, right? It's all good. So let's talk about Demonsaw 3D. First of all, I have lots of secret projects that I'm working on now that nobody knows about. Not even the people I work with know about. I think about a lot of stuff and across the spectrum of different areas, hardware and software. I'm always thinking. Even when I'm sleeping, I'm dreaming of new ideas, and I'll get up and I'll write them down. And sometimes those ideas become products, and they happen when the time is right. And so the last few months, a good friend of mine, Seth Wall, who you guys might know as the founder and creator of the Demon Bucket Network, which had it not been for Seth and his influence and his very wise suggestions, we probably wouldn't have had chat in Demonsaw 2.0, because he convinced me that it was sorely lacking, and he was absolutely right. Not only did he convince me that we needed some cool features, but he also paid for the original public network and infrastructure for Demonsaw 2.0. In fact, he paid for that for many, many months, almost a year. In fact, I think it was a year, maybe a little bit more, out of his own pocket. And some people gave him donations, but he did it because he had some extra money, and he believed in what we were doing, and he wanted to contribute. And so Seth and I, we've kind of been going our own ways for the past 6 months. We've both been busy. He's been busy starting his company and getting government contracts, and I've been busy working with John McAfee and NGT. And so we kind of had a little absence for 6 months, but recently we started talking again, and an idea we had about 9-12 months ago, we started throwing around. It's kind of like a band that breaks up. So like a really successful band breaks up, does amazing, like a hair band in the 80s, does like 4 or 5 awesome albums, and then they basically go their own ways for 5 years, and then they come back and like, all right, fuck it, let's just do another reunion tour. That's kind of how Seth and I are in our relationship right now. So we started talking. He's staying at my place this week. We were talking more, and so we decided that now was the time to release a new product. So today, I'd like to unveil a product that Seth and I are partnering on. It's a really cool product, and it's called Demonsaw 3D. And Demonsaw 3D, 3D stands for Digital Dead Drop. So the 3D is Digital Dead Drop. Let me explain what the product is, and then I'm sure people are going to get really, really excited. I'll probably get a lot of emails and a lot of tweets about this. But Demonsaw 3D is the first hardware-based device that Team Demonsaw is producing. What it is, think of like your VCR or your DVD player or refrigerator or any electronic device you own. They all have a power cable, right? So at the end of this power cable is this little wall wart, this little black box that has 2 or 3 prongs on it, and that plugs into your outlet. So that wall wart is, it's about, I don't know, 2 inches by 3 inches or something. It's a nice little square, and it's plugs into it, and then a cable goes from that and powers whatever your electronic device is. Well, one of the ideas that Seth and I had months ago was that we really wanted to take Demonsaw clients and Demonsaw routers and be able to totally dead drop these. So have some sort of device where we could go to our local Starbucks and basically configure a Demonsaw router or configure a Demonsaw client and surreptitiously hide it somewhere and have it connect to the public Wi-Fi or wherever we are, and just drop it there. Maybe host files, maybe host a secure network, but have a small enough price point so that we could, pay for the device, drop it off at Starbucks, leave it for a week, come back and get it, charge it up, send it back, etc. And one of the thoughts we had is, most restaurants these days have free public Wi-Fi. Most of them. They're not even encrypted. Hotels are encrypted, but usually the password's not that exciting. So you could theoretically, if you had something the size of a wall wart with 2 little outlet prongs, and you had a computer inside with a wireless chip and nothing else, just a black little tiny square, you could plug it in to a little outlet at Starbucks, behind a bookshelf, behind one of those lazy boys at Starbucks where you drink your latte. You could plug it in, have it connect to the Starbucks Wi-Fi, and that thing would probably be online for years and nobody would even know about it. And so the Demonsaw 3D is a hardware device that is at a very, very low cost point. It is a self-contained wireless dead drop device that will be pre-configured with Demonsaw clients and routers, allow you to go to your college campus, your work, and literally deploy Demonsaw nodes wherever you want for very, very low cost. And here's where it gets exciting. Each of these Demonsaw 3D devices, $24.95. That's the price they're at. $24.95, less than a Raspberry Pi. You can put up your own network, secure, anonymous, anywhere you want, dead drop the device, and you can help set the world free. And so Seth Wall and I are proud to announce a partnership on this device. And I got to be honest, it was a long 6 months where Seth and I were separated technically, and I'm glad that we're back together and we're partnering for this new device. So the Demonsaw 3D, the digital dead drop Demonsaw, it's a wall wart, it's wireless. It's going to have an SD and maybe even a USB drive connect to it. Literally $24.95. You can drop it anywhere where you want. Self-powered, plugs into the wall. Nobody's even going to know it. And so that's the product I'm very proud to announce today.
Wow. That's all I can say for that, my friend. And I got so many questions. My first question would be, will this be available? Well, when will it be available? Will this be available for different configurations of wall settings? Because obviously there's the American to UK one, and obviously when you go around the world, there's different needs, different systems. So, have you got any sort of plans to do it for different regions? And I mean, the first question is begging, when can we start doing this?
Yeah, well, we have a that's a great question. I knew you were going to ask this. Seth is looking at me right now, so I gotta be careful. Seth is in the process of getting all the hardware boards manufactured. So it's we're about halfway through that process. We're about a third to halfway through that process right now. Keeping the price point as low as $24.95 is a little challenging, and I wanted it lower, but Seth convinced me otherwise. So. We're still working out agreements and details, and we're still working out timelines. But one thing that we are telling you right now is that they will be available for purchase at the very, very latest mid-May at Hack Miami. So I will be at Hack Miami, and they will be available. So that's 6 months from now. I'm hoping they will be available far, far sooner than that. So ideally, I want to get them available. I mean, don't quote me on these dates, but I would like to get them available a couple months before Hack Miami. But we will have a shit ton of them at Hack Miami, and if you want to be there, they're going to be available. And like I said, it's almost at cost. There's very, very little margin we have for these. It's mainly just to allow us to to set ourselves freer. What's been lacking up to this point with Demonsaw is a way to distribute and propagate networks through hardware. Right now, you install it on your laptop, you install it on your phone, you install it on your desktop. But imagine if 1,000 people bought these and just scattered them around their university. Your entire university would be one big, continuous Demonsaw network. And you could host whatever you want via USB or micro SD. You could free your entire university network and nobody would even know. And the power of that for $24.95 per person. So it's a cool technology. There's also some additional announcements we'll have about this device at Hack Miami, but I'm not at liberty to release those news just yet because I promised some people that we would hold that announcement to a future date. But you'll be able to buy them May 15th or before at the very, very latest. Hopefully 3 months from now, if we can get things rushed. So yeah, I think it's going to be a big seller at Hack Miami. I think this is going to be a big seller at DefCon. Hopefully we'll have a lot of awesome anonymous networks go live at both hacker conventions and all around the world. I want to be able to connect to Demonsaw wherever I am. I mean, maybe this is the beginning of the first universal mesh net. This is, once we have, it's kind of like Elon Musk. Once you have the infrastructure of the charging stations, making more cars is easy. But first you have to set up an infrastructure. And, with any luck, this will be the start of that infrastructure.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that's going to be actually crucial, I think that's why it's, I said, literally, wow, because I think the ability to, like I say, to mesh all this up around the world, and the solution of the plug is just it's a genius concept. Because the great thing is, and this, which leads to the next question, is going to be about this. Will be okay. It's finding means and maybe what this hopefully this conversation can stem a few people off and find ways we can distribute this all over the world. Because one of the things I've spoken a lot to many people about, Eijah, and I'm sure you're on the same page as me, that for this, if we really do want to sort of shift the paradigm of where we are as a species, it's essential. It doesn't just happen in one corner of Europe or one corner of Canada and America, or it's got to be going, I want the guy in Zaire, I want the guy in Malaysia, I want the guy who's sat in the middle of Peru to be able to plug something in and go, I can be part of this new paradigm, and I don't need to know about laptops or, anything else like that. So I think it's about distributing and getting this out, which is going to be another big hurdle, because it's a great idea. The next one is getting it across to everybody.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine being able to assume that every time you go to a Starbucks, there's going to be one too many Demonsaw networks live. So you sit down and you just, you're waiting for your latte, and maybe you can stream some MP3s to your iPhone or to your Android device while you're waiting for your latte. Or maybe you can watch the newest previews of upcoming movies just sitting there waiting. There's so much idle time right now in life that we're not taking advantage of. Literally, we spend years of our lives waiting in line at amusement parks, waiting for our Starbucks, waiting for in line for movie tickets, waiting for the movie to begin. What if we could somehow benefit from that idle time? Imagine if everybody could get a year back in their life by minimizing dead time or wait time or idle time, and take that and repurpose that time into improving humanity and evolving and moving our species forward. We could go to Mars. We could get rid of government spying and intervention. We could put the right candidates into office, not a bunch of buffoons and fools and haters like Clinton and Trump. We could actually do some good for this country. And it's not just the U.S., it's the UK as well. It's Norway, it's Sweden, it's Canada, etc. I mean, if we had real people with open minds and we're not motivated by greed, we could totally change the world, and we could do it again and again and again. Here's what I want, and I know we're going to transition into candidates eventually. Here's what I want from my future president. Don't take a penny a salary. Serve my country because you serve my country. Say you're not going to take a salary. Say you're going to be open-minded. Say you're not going to diminish privacy rights. Say you're not going to treat me as a criminal. Say you're not going to take us back to the Stone Age. And say you're going to leave religion out of the discussion of the future of our society. and you will have my vote. But start with the salary. You're not taking the office to get paid. Serve your country and serve it impoverished, because that would get my attention.
Yeah, well, I mean, this alludes to. I mean, this is what I was trying to, maybe the thing that we were speaking about. I mean, the real paradigm shift is when we don't have leaders. We can have rules. We don't need rulers. We don't. Do you know what I mean? So I think you're absolutely right. I think the first step is doing this. But this is what I love about what you're just talking about, though, Joe. I want to go back to the 3D thing, because this is the practical steps where people are taking things back for themselves, where they don't need to sit every 4 years and think, get caught up in some bullshit election crap. They can take the power back. And I mean, I'm sure many people listening or going to listen to this, and I'm sure you have just thinking all the disruptive elements, what you can do. Like you were saying, I'm just thinking like, okay, I can imagine not anybody just walking to a local library or anywhere, just local churches, local mosques, local synagogues, plugging it in. Just because how many like you say, it's just making use of the resources. And this is what I love about what you're saying, because I think eventually when to really, this is what I love about people like yourself, and I think you're a huge inspiration to many people that you're probably never going to meet, is that you're the living embodiment of somebody, as you were saying earlier on. You're just human, you're just fallible, but you're doing it yourself. You're not, do you know what I mean? You've set upon this journey. You could have sat there in Rockstar and earned a nice little, wage for the rest of your life, but you didn't. And this is the inspiring thing that what you're trying to allude to, that people, to really paradigm shift, it's about people taking the power back for themselves and having the use of the tools themselves. And then we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what could happen. This is what I'm saying, but it's the focusing on the tools. So I mean, okay, now we've spoken about the 3D. Is there anything particularly else that that's really exciting you in the area of Demonsaw at the moment?
Well, yeah, I wanna talk about the 3D, the Demonsaw 3D, just a little bit more, because
go, please.
It's, obviously it's going to be customizable. I mean, you'll be able to SSH into it. You'll be able to install other things on it. You'll be able to put whatever you want on it. Of course, it's going to be under the spirit of freedom and openness. But here's the real cool thing. And I know some of the listeners probably are already at this point of realization right now, but you buy one for $24.95. You take it home, you plug it into the wall, it gets on your network, you plug a USB drive in, you plug it into your USB in, it's set to share whatever you want on the USB, and we don't need Dropbox anymore. So for $24.95, we single-handedly can remove Dropbox from most home consumer needs. Single-handedly, $24.95, you plug it into the wall, it gets online, you plug a USB stick in, plug an external hard drive in, plug whatever you want in, and suddenly you don't need the cloud. You are your own cloud. You are in control. You are empowered. That alone, instead of paying Dropbox $100 per year for them to store your stuff insecurely for 1 terabyte, which is nothing. I have extra unused 1 terabyte USB drives sitting all around me. I haven't used in years, just sitting there. Take one of those, plug it in, spend $24.95 once, and now you're set to be free forever. And that's all you need. Now you have become your own Dropbox. So that to me is exciting. That provides a lot of potential. That excites me, I think, most of all. I mean, the technology is really cool, but that alone, when I said I was going to destroy Dropbox, I meant it. This is the first step in many different attacks that Demonsaw has taken against Dropbox. And there'll be more to come, much stronger than this one, but this one is a pretty good first swing. So I'm excited about that. Dropbox is going away. They're not going to IPO in a year. We're going to hurt their valuation. Why? Because they're not good for privacy. They're not good for us. And they're not part of our future of being anonymous, secure, private, and free. People are taking back control, and it starts with you and me, and it starts with simple little $24.95 devices that we plug in. It starts really simple, but it builds. just like an avalanche, just like a tidal wave. It starts little, and then incrementally, you're much bigger and stronger. So that to me, that makes me smile at night when I go to bed, and that makes me wake up with a grin on my face.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's so many thoughts percolating through my mind at the moment, and I'm obviously, it may sound a really simple question, but hey, that's some of the greatest questions in the world. Obviously, you'll be making this available via many various cryptocurrencies, so if people want to buy Bitcoin or etc., because I mean, my thought process going through my mind was like, well, between now and May, the dollar and the pound could be absolutely worthless. So I hope you sort of back this up with some sort of cryptocurrency, the price level, so we can, because if it all does go to pot, I can still buy with my Bitcoin.
Definitely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that's happening. I mean, technology's changing. It's a great time to be alive. I'm excited to be able to participate and help out in whatever way I can.
Well, yeah, and I mean, this is one of the things that, again, I mean, I think you've spoken upon there, and I know that you. And I kind of spoke about it earlier on. You've been doing a lot of this all by yourself, and I know bit by bit you're getting one or two people. But again, this is what really excites me about and I think one of the things that I think is really refreshing about how your attitude to things are, Eijah, especially compared to a lot of projects, is that you've put a very clear, defined, long-term roadmap ahead. And you're not one of these people. I've spent many hours talking to people, and they're like, well, in a year's time it's going to be completely different. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm here in a year's time and it's still the same world. And that's what I like about what you're doing. You're putting out very clear, defined roadmaps for sort of like how things are going to go. Now, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about this roadmap ahead and how you sort of see things. Have you put in or how far up in your consciousness does it, your thinking, does the whole concept of AI and all this come into it? Because we're talking about mesh networks and building this and building that. I mean, but in essence, an artificial intelligence, for want of a better word, because I don't even like calling it artificial intelligence because I think that's arrogant of humans. But if this intelligence comes along and builds the most perfect design for have you thought about these things, and have you thought about how you're going to integrate, especially from your background in Rockstar, about the new virtual world coming and how you're going to integrate Demonsaw with this?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm glad you mentioned that question, because I was thinking last night about another way that I could explain my future vision of Demonsaw. Demonsaw now is in version 3. We just released version 3.1, and 3.2 is about half done. So that'll be released hopefully in the next 2 to 4 weeks, but it's still in its infancy. If you were looking at it like the life of a human, we'd be somewhere around probably 14, 15 years old. I mean, we're starting to mature. We're an adolescent now, but we're not grown up yet. We're not quite there. We're not mature. We can't drive a car. We can't drink. We can't do a lot of stuff that adults can do. So I thought about how would I describe the future vision I have of Demonsaw in the simplest possible way. One of the ways that I came up with was describing the future of Demonsaw as like a neural network. And so when I was studying artificial intelligence, when I was programming GTA 5, one of the things that we were researching at the time was a lot of neural network technology. So the idea of a neural network, or a quantum computer, or some type of network technology, was that you had a lot of little things like ants, like your theme, ants, a lot of little, almost seemingly insignificant pieces that by themselves are nothing, are nothing to really, are nothing at all, don't have a lot of strength, don't have a lot of power, are just kind of almost insignificant. But when you add up the small numbers, the sum is far outweighs the individual aggregation of the unit. So the total is greater than the sum of the parts, basically. And Demonsaw as a neural network is kind of where the technology is going. So a neural network would basically be a bunch of nodes, and independently, they only act for themselves. But when they're grouped together, they become this Borg-like mega brain or conscience. And what they do is they think at a much higher level. And so each new node you add to that, you get more than just one in addition. you get 1 point something in addition, and that grows. That can grow via a Fibonacci sequence, or that can grow exponentially, or that can grow at a far greater than linear path. And Demonsaw as a technology, the more routers we put out there, the more clients we put out there, the more Demonsaw 3D devices that are plugged in and distributed, the greater the neural network's going to be. And here's the beautiful thing about Demonsaw 4. The Demonsaw 4 routers are going to be 100% data agnostic, meaning you can send anything over them, anything, whether it's DS traffic or not. And once these routers are deployed, the future only opens up. Demonsaw 5, Demonsaw 6, and beyond, you'll be able to send more and more traffic over these routers. So basically, Demonsaw routers, starting with Demonsaw 4, are going to be conduits and packet forwarding routers in the most agnostic sense. You'll be able to send any data. So even if you don't use Demonsaw, you'll be able to send data over the Demonsaw network. Why? Because it will still wrap up, it will still secure, it will still encrypt your data according to the Demonsaw specification. So Demonsaw may very well evolve to an anonymous and agnostic packet forwarding network that has absolutely nothing to do with file sharing, file synchronization, chat, or private messaging. In the future, it may truly become an anonymous, secure infrastructure or middleware layer on which everything can reside for free, whether it's peer-to-peer or centralized or mesh-based type network communication. It's the true definition of the future neural network. And that's what I'm building out now. That's what my team and I are working on now. And to me, that is far, far more exciting than making file sharing a little faster, or providing more bells and whistles in the UI, or it's building out the next generation of devices and building out that infrastructure to handle anything that the future will throw at it.
Well, yeah, and this kind of bleeds very nicely into one of the points I really wanted to sort of like discuss with you, because you mentioned something you earlier on in this conversation, and you said when you were talking about how your process of actually creating is, and you'll be in these long periods of time where you're going to coding, and you said you almost like almost dream states and stuff. Now my question to you, Eijah, is, and this is one of the things that I tell you, at times I spend hours contemplating this, thinking, okay, but I hope you're putting this down on pen and paper somewhere, or that you're sitting there dictating this, because if something happens to you, dude, that's what things I lie awake and I think, oh man, once this, if something happens to Eijah, we're all going to be left with all these visions and nobody actually. So on the very practical level, do you actually write these things down? Have you got notebooks full of all this stuff? So if anything ever happens to you, at least somebody can pick up the trail and follow your vision.
Well, there are some notebooks, but not many. Most of this I keep in my head still. Now, just recently, I put in place an end of Eijah contingency plan, which is kind of a morbid thing to think about, but nonetheless, it's important to think about. So, if something would happen to me, there's a solid contingency plan in place with many encrypted devices that contains content that will continue my mission. And this has been put in place. This has been in place for a while. I also have a Padawan. I have a very, very smart, staring at me right now, so he's going to have a big grin on his face when I say nice things about him. But very smart hacker, very smart programmer, somebody who I've come to trust, and somebody who I feel could take over if something should happen to me. So he's somebody that I'm putting a lot of time and energy into training and working with, and making sure he understands not only the approach to cybersecurity and the approach to Demonsaw, but also me as a person and my motivation, and not just why I'm doing it, but where I see the future and why we need to get to this futuristic vision I have. So it's somebody who, what was it, like Yoda said, there's always a master and an apprentice. So I have an apprentice now, and his name is Cameron, and he's a smart guy, and it's an honor and a privilege to work with him. He still has a lot to learn, but I also have a lot to teach. So I think there's a fair balance between the two. But he is in line to become the next Eijah. Hopefully that's a long way away and not a 3-month destination. But that has been put in place, and I am training him up to be strong in force.
No, that's okay. Well, that again, it just begs more of a question to you, because again, I think I've always sort of thought the creative process, whether you're an artist, a musician, it's all the same thing. Now, one of the things that, as I've gone further down the my journey of life, I maybe in my 20s I didn't sort of consider this as much, but now I'm very much, if I have an idea, I either work on it straight away and then okay, I can go back to it, or I leave it in a notepad somewhere. This is what I'm trying to say. So you're kind of alluding to me that you're not really writing this down. So how just on a man-to-man level, how do your mind, has it got like is it almost like you process things in a filing system and you can retrieve information? And I mean, it's a very fascinating the way you've done this.
Yeah, and the way my mind works is, I hope most of society doesn't think the way I do, because it's an extremely intense process. Everything's in my mind. The only thing that's not in my mind is when I bridge the gap between everything that's already been defined and written in my head to actually typing the code. There'll be a small transitive step of me kind of writing down, because there has to be some sort of translation between my mind speak and how I'm going to code it. So I'll have some paragraphs, I'll have stickies on my desktop, I'll kind of organize things in bullet points, but everything is really in my head. I've already designed and written all of Demonsaw 4 in my head. I can see the code. I mean, it's every single line, no, but 75-80% of the code's already been written in my head. I can see the structure, I can see how the UI looks, I can see how the network's going to interface. I even know where the bottlenecks are going to be, performance and scalability and single points of failure and things of this nature. But I keep everything in like little filing cabinets, and I can access them as I need to pull them out. Some things have been stored away for a year or 2 years now, like the Demonsaw 3D. That was an idea that Seth and I threw around last December. So almost a year now. And we were drinking beer, getting drunk, we were having silly guy conversations like guys do, throwing out ideas, thinking nothing of them. Well, that got filed away. We were thinking about that more. Then we decided to make it a real product. But it's all done in my head. I'll have these pacing sessions where I'll go home and literally I'll pace back and forth in a room for an hour or two, and I'll talk to myself and I'll think through concepts, and I'll really design features, and I'll be like, okay, I need this feature to integrate here, but I've got these 4 problems, and I don't really know how I'm going to overcome this challenge because it's going to completely change the network protocol. And I'll talk to myself, having a pseudo-sane conversation, or perhaps pseudo-insane conversation, until I resolve the problem. And then once I resolve it, I'll say, oh, okay, that makes sense. I'll file it away and I'll go to the next problem. And then when I've solved enough of these problems, I'll go back to work, or I'll open my laptop and I'll start coding the solution. And that's merely taking everything and filtering it down in a way that the computer can understand it. So by the time I'm actually typing the code, I've done 80 to 90% of the work. And all I'm doing now is really just correcting some floating point errors per se.
Yeah, and I think this alludes to what you were speaking about at the very beginning of this conversation. Thereupon, what you just spoken upon is exactly the beauty of why we do what we do. Whether it's you just said then you just spoke. I could say exactly same, almost taking out the word code and putting in art. That's exactly what we do. But it always begs the question, and this is what I'm trying to say, EJ. I mean, eventually, or maybe not eventually, but yeah, at some point, Demonsaw is going to have its end, and then it's kind of like, as I know, you're not the kind of guy I know that's going to sit there, put your feet up and watch TV. That's not you. I can't see you doing that. So
No.
my thing is to you, I mean, if you it's that why that's obviously pushing you, but you obviously must sort of think at the end of it that it's going to be an end to Demonsaw. Is there any sort of thing beyond this that you'd love to really get yourself and stick get your head into?
There is, and I've been thinking about it more and more over the last year, and I know ideas I have that will get stored in my database, and every now and then I'll pull them out and look at it. But some ideas I pull out more and more frequently, and the pace with which I look at these ideas and think about them increases. point where I'm thinking about it almost daily. And so I have a few ideas. This would take me back to my video game roots, but I have one in particular that I've been kind of throwing around. I'm not going to go into details about what it is, but I have I have an idea for a game that I think the world needs. And I'm tired of the same type of games. I think the MMORPG and the FPS and even games like third-person shooter games have become just tired and old and stagnant, and there's very little innovation. I mean, all you got to do is look at the Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty franchises. They're old. They feel the same. They've got nothing new to offer. Great. So you've got better graphics. Congratulations. You can take advantage of the hardware. Good for you. Great. You've got a story in space versus a story out west. Fine. Good for you. But they're not offering that immersive experience that we were promised many, many years ago. How video gaming would transform our lives, social, work lives, etc. Sony just released their new kind of Oculus Rift derived 3D device. That's cool if you like wearing this 40-pound device strapped to your forehead. But what about going back to the Quentin Tarantino type story-driven narrative? What about stories that make us feel? Movies and books that strike up an emotion inside our heart, that give us the desire to live another day and make us feel alive. I mean, when was the last time that you sat and you watched a TV show that made you feel like so alive that your fingers and your toes were tingling? You had goosebumps because something in the story spoke to your heart and the emotional core of your being. Not much anymore. We need that back in video games. We need real video games with real stories that are truly immersive without the gimmicks that Sony and Microsoft and game developers like Activision have been trying to force feed us. We don't need another Pokemon Go. We don't need another Skylanders or Guitar Hero or Assassin's Creed or Call of Duty or another MMORPG. What we need is an experience. We need an entertaining experience that's going to change our lives. We can tell that story. We can offer those games. Just like I can build out Demonsaw and ask nothing of you in return, we can provide entertainment that changes us forever in a span of 10, 20 hours. And that's something we can do. We have the technology. I want to make the next great video game that is so immersive and is so powerful that it is a more life-changing experience than a come to Jesus. So you don't need to go to the altar to be changed with the video game that I'm going to create. That is the game I'm going to create. I already know the story. I already know the game mechanics. I already know the format. And to be honest, I'm just crazy enough to sell this idea to Sony and Microsoft and partner with them. It's been a year since I've worked on a video game, and I'm kind of jonesing. So who knows? Maybe I'll call Sony and Microsoft. Maybe I'll have them ship me out some dev kits for the X-Bone and the Penis 4. That's what we call them at Rockstar. The X-Bone and the Penis 4. So if you guys haven't heard those terms, that's the official game development term for those consoles. But maybe I'll call them up. Maybe I'll get some development consoles out here. Maybe I'll code another game. So Life After Demonsaw is probably going to produce a AAA game that I think the world has never seen before. I can guarantee you've never seen it before. Is it going to sell 50 million copies and make $2 billion? I hope not, because I'd rather change 50 million lives and save people $2 billion from therapy and drugs and make the world a better place. So that's my goal of creating the next great game. And if I happen to overthrow Rockstar in the process, well, there will always be jobs available for my coworkers. So obviously, I'm joking with that, sort of. But no, that's what has become kind of my obsession now. And we'll see how long I can wait. But I have a feeling I'll probably be playing around with the dev kit sometime soon.
Well, man, I kind of really, I want to bring this onto a human level because I think what you just said in the last, what you just spoken upon is a real something that needs to be rung true and clear. And I speak about this because I've recently lost, someone I knew quite who died of suicide. And one of the things that comes up over again and again is, and thank you, you've spoken upon this, is this zest for life. I mean, if I could give Eijah, maybe, an extra 200 years, I know you would squeeze out every second of that 200 years of life you've been giving. And this is what I'm trying to say. It's really inspiring to hear that, like, that's why I find that I think people like you are really inspiring because you've spoken upon, you're just real. You're not sitting there. You haven't got, a team of 500 people working for you. Just one guy who's just walked away, followed his vision, and ploughed the field away. And you've just spoken upon it. You by doing that, you get this zest for life, and I think it's really inspiring because I think one of the things that you're doing with Demonsaw is you're giving these platforms for people because so the people who are right now thinking there isn't no way out. These are the platforms that are being built, and I think I always want to bring it into real life because it's one of the dark unspoken things about the truth about our world right now. There's so much untapped human potential that it's just untapped, and it's like that because it suits certain people to kind of keep the system as it going. And that's what I love about people like yourself, that you're just going in there and diving in feet first and going, no, I'm going to disrupt all this all. Or as we were saying earlier on, this is how it should have been. It should have never have got to this point, and that's what always frustrates me. It should have never have got to this point, and I only wish that you had been around in 1945 and we wouldn't have to get to this point. But we're at that reset moment that we are now. So, well, look, Eijah, I kind of time is kind of on my side, and I'm really, really, really grateful for for giving me the time because I know particularly how precious your time is, man. But obviously, is there anything particularly you want to speak upon or put it another way, is there anything, if you could wrap this whole conversation up or leave anyone with a parting message, what would your parting message be?
Well, I think to begin with, I always want to find time and take the opportunity to thank those that not only have come before us, but those that are around us. Institutions like the Electronic Frontier Foundation or DefCon or Hack Miami or the open source initiatives or the people that built BitTorrent or the foundation of the internet or things like MateSafe community or all of these open source developers, the creators of Crypto PP, the people who contributed to Boost, to the C++ standards committee. I mean, the list can go on and on and on and on. But my point by all this is, don't thank me. Thank the people around me, through which actions I would not be here had it not been for them. The people who contributed and sacrificed 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago to build this beautiful thing that we now take for granted called the internet and technology and online commerce and the ability to watch videos streamed from Netflix. There's so many millions of hours went into building this infrastructure and getting us to the point where we could get on a Google Hangouts here and have a call about a little tiny application called Demonsaw, built by a little tiny man who goes under the hacker name Eijah. These people around me inspire me to get up every morning and inspire me to write code. And without their sacrifice, none of us would be here. I heard a quote the other day. I don't know which athlete it was from, but there's this Olympian who was asked. I guess she won some golds or some silver. She won a lot of medals and was very, very famous. And she was asked one day. She's like, somebody came up to her and said, "How do you do it? What is your secret for working so hard and running so fast and not giving up and getting injured and recovering and pushing further and training and not ever having a moment of weakness?" And the Olympian thought for a second, and she turned to the lady or the person that was asking her this question, and she said, "Every morning when the alarm clock goes off, I don't hit snooze." So sometimes the secrets in life are as simple as simply not hitting a snooze button. This goes back to our original conversation an hour ago, and that is, life is short, life is futile. We don't know when we're going to take our last breath. every time we hit snooze, we lose an opportunity. I would rather fail 1,000,000 times over than regret even once. 20 years from now, I might not be here. Maybe I'll be here in 60 years. Maybe I'll be half cyborg. You know, maybe I'll be the cause of the Borg. Who knows? But whatever happens, I don't hit snooze. I get up. As the great John Bon Jovi said, I love quoting 80s rock stars because it just feels so right and yet it's so wrong. The great John Bon Jovi once says, I wake up and French kiss the morning. And that's my approach to life. I don't give it a peck on the cheek. I wake up and I French kiss the morning. I'm 100% in all the time. So wonder is your my friend. That's my secret. But you know, look to those that have come before me. Give them the respect and the praise. I don't deserve any of that.
Yeah, well, man, like you couldn't say it any more perfectly than you just said. But I have to say, from a man, you know, on this side of the world, you know, to another man on the other side of the world, just to maybe a little, you know, ending line to that is always important. And I want to say this to you, brother to brother, man. It's good at times just to rest. It's not always good just to hit, you know, sometimes you do need to sort of go, yeah, that snooze button, or don't even have the alarm clock on and sleep, because, you know, as I said before, man, you are just a human being, dude. You are flesh and blood like me. And, you know, I'm always, my sort of riposte is always, you know, take care of yourself. Because, you know, we need people like you in this world, man, because that's what I'm saying. It takes a certain mindset, a certain will, a certain, you know, personality to do what you're doing. And I need, you know, that's what I'm saying. So sometimes, yeah, you're right. You know, go and dive into life full times, but other times on a man-to-man level, man, you take that rest at times and don't feel guilty for it, please.
Oh, well, thank you. And I'm still going to take you up next time I'm in Scotland. I'm still taking you up on that pint. We'll go into Edinburgh. We'll go to the little place called Pivo, and they have double pints of Guinness. And I tried that last time. I didn't quite get through it before I stumbled my way home. But I'm willing to try again for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, that sounds perfect, dude. And we could do that and plug one of your Demonsaw 3Ds in. So that would be a perfect date.
Well, we'll set that entire place up to have Demonsaw networks everywhere. So awesome. Hey, well, thank you very much for the opportunity. It's always a pleasure being on here. Let's do it again. Not wait 12 months this time.
Yeah, man, and I think you're absolutely right, man. And as everything you said quite rightly said, and I think it's sort of summed up in exactly the title of what it is, man. Life is people. And thank you very much for coming on tonight. So from me over here in Scotland, all over from the USA, I want to say life is people.
Thank you, guys.